Welcome to the Calling All Heroes Comics podcast. I'm George, and I'm joined by Tim.
Hey.
And Walls.
Hey.
And I just turned the music down because we're running a somewhat shoddy operation here.
We are.
What was the name of the studio? What did we call it?
What did I call Ghetto?
Yeah.
Ghetto something.
Ghetto Setup Productions.
Ghetto
Setup Productions will be
Ghetto
back in a
Setup
moment.
Here we are.
Sixers.
On Small Turd Saturday.
Small turd Saturday.
Oh,
Here
yeah,
we
they
go.
said it. They called it Small Turd Saturday. It seems as though the door was left shut, and the cats, well, I mean, they're only human.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Your cats are human.
Yes, they are.
They're superhuman.
Superhuman.
Yeah,
They're-
what are you going to do?
They're inhuman.
They're inhuman.
But
Yeah. My God, don't put that moniker on it.
oh.
Oh, my gosh.
So they left us a gift this morning.
That's true. We're gonna take an audio pause, and then I think we're gonna take a video pause. Go ahead. Ghetto Productions will be back in a moment. Stick around. And we're back.
Hey.
Hey. That's what I'm talking about.
It's indicative of Ghetto Setup Productions that occasionally we look at this and say, you know what, that was just a little bit off. It
Yeah.
wasn't quite straight.
Wee bit of a tilt.
And it bugged me, which first and foremost was a problem.
I was wanting to go like this a little bit, and just like tilt my head, and then it was all right.
I'll be like this. Hey,
Yeah.
hey.
But you see, you let it slide this week, and next week it gets worse and worse. You got to have standards. Pretty
It's
soon
all about the viewers.
Pretty soon,
So,
it's like
it's all about you.
Pretty soon, pretty soon, it's like Turbo from Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo. We're like walking in a big circle around the building. We're standing on the ceiling. It's
Wow.
anarchy.
Yeah. If you haven't figured this out yet, we're obviously not under the auspice of Pops Kramer this week.
Yeah, he's not here.
You
The
can tell
auspice.
the shenanigans have already begun.
We're out of control.
Yeah. All right, let's
But
reel it in.
Hopefully, Gary will be back next week
Yes.
to once again bring credibility to this otherwise shoddy show.
Exactly.
Wow. That just got real.
Hey, man, the man's credible, and
Well, like you see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we tend to behave ourselves.
Our
a little
credibility is
more.
usually hanging by a thread, and
Yeah.
that thread is owned
Yeah, it's
by
gone.
Gary.
It's
So,
gone
anyway,
And we thank him for it.
yeah.
Very Gary.
So, 2 days ago was Thanksgiving. You guys have a good Thanksgiving?
now. I did.
Yes.
Great.
Cool.
Very nice.
Anything comic related that tied into your Thanksgiving in any way? I mean, I know right before that I saw, I went up and got to see Justice League, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit.
We will,
Yeah.
because I saw it as well. Walls didn't.
Yeah.
Now we have a new Gary that doesn't
Yeah.
go see the
Yeah.
movies.
You're filling in for him in many ways.
Except for that credibility part, because
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
started Small Turd
Yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Zero.
I mean, he
I have
did, but you
zero
encouraged it.
credibility.
I may have
Zero
coined the
credibility.
term, but you
Yeah.
you expanded.
I
it.
loved it. I couldn't. I was wheezing like Muttley. I was like,
Thank you very much.
Motley.
Thank you, Tim.
Oh, good times.
Yes.
But anyway, you read anything good? I mean, I think we all pretty well. You didn't have the day off either. And bring
I
up
didn't. That's okay. I worked. I did get to leave a little early, so I got home and prepared. I had a lot of food like pre-prepared, so we had things ready to go. So
Cool.
yeah, Logan helped us out. Shout out to Logan. She put the turkey in the oven early in the morning,
There you
and
go.
then I come home and cleaned house and tore it up,
Nice.
and we all ate. And 2 days worth of food prep was taken care of in about 45 minutes.
There you go.
Yeah, kind of reminds me of Christmas.
America.
When, you know, Santa works real hard, but those presents are open in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
What's that all about?
yeah. On actual Thanksgiving Day, I kind of spearheaded the cooking process, but I had a little bit of downtime, and I was reading Scott McCloud's How to Understanding Comics. I don't know if you guys had ever looked through that book.
You told me about it.
Yes.
It's just, I mean, it's fascinating, every page. Even Katie likes it.
I know, right?
Katie just
And,
give it the meows up.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, leave me have to run in the building the whole night, and
Yeah.
I lock me
Yeah.
in.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I think it had something to do with Small Turd Saturday.
It might have.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's going to bring the customers in. It's going to bring the customers in.
but yeah.
Back to your book.
No, it's really, really good. If you get a chance to check it out, Scott McCloud, Understanding Comics, and he actually has a series of those books. But I was into that, and then there was also a documentary on Amazon. It's called Doomed: The Story of Roger Corman's Fantastic Four,
Ah,
and
wow.
it interviews everybody. And it's really cool too because when you watch a documentary, the first time somebody's on screen, it'll kind of say at the bottom who they are and what they had to do with everything, but it kind of plays out over the course. In this one, the opening, they just run right down the list, 20 people, like boom, I'm so and so, and I did this, I'm this, and I did this. So where in the first 2 minutes of this documentary, you are aware of who everybody is, and I mean they had the director, the producer, all the stars. And it's a fascinating story. They talk about how that movie was only made so that they could retain the rights, that it had no intention of being released, and nobody involved in the movie knew that ahead of time. Yeah. And
it's on the tube. I've watched a little bit of it here and there. But
Oh, really?
The whole thing, yeah.
I always see stills of it. The guy that plays Mr. Fantastic looks like Dana Carvey.
A little bit.
And I mean, maybe it just was the picture that I had seen. I was like, well, pretty funny.
Yeah. Funny you say that. I watched most of Wayne's World last night just because it was
Excellent.
On. It was on, party. It was on, and I was just like, what the heck? I was feeling a little nostalgic.
Well, the guy that played Johnny Storm was also the guy that played Bug in Uncle Buck.
He was the Bug?
Yeah, remember Bug?
Oh,
Yeah, and some lesser things like The Boy Who Could Fly on Disney and some other dumb stuff.
Shout out to Disney there on that one.
And Uncle Buck. Uncle Buck's got me slinging hash. That's what the kids say. He's washing dishes. That's a classic.
Yeah, today's I put it on the book. Today's the 30th anniversary release date of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I saw your post.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. You're messing with the wrong guy.
I didn't have time to watch the whole thing, but I went on YouTube and definitely went through the big moments.
Man,
but,
that's good stuff.
I saw something. I know we weren't on last week, but I just to remember this as I wanted to bring it to the table. I saw the first installment or one of the installments of Robert Kirkman's History of Comic Books.
I've been watching that.
And it was the Marvel one because it just happened to fall. I think it's on Monday night.
Yeah, Monday night.
Well,
like 10 o'clock.
It just happened to be on late on Sunday after The Walking Dead and The Talking Dead and all that hocus pocus. But it was really interesting, and I went I'd given Stanley a break because I used to be really angry because I've always been a Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko and artist kind of guy, and I was always really sort of angry, and I always didn't give Stan much credit until you start reading stuff that Jack did in DC where the art was good, but the stories just were lacking. And I'll be the first to admit, outside of I like the story of the Demon. But all the other DC stuff seems very disjointed to me, even though the art, I think, still looks good. And Mike Royer too, so it was good-looking art, but the stories were really sort of, So I thought, well, maybe I should give Stan credit. But I'm mad at Stan again because they're interviewing him, and he said he still didn't understand why Jack and Steve left.
Yeah, what happened?
How about you guys are raking in all kinds of money? He was out of town. They were raking in all kinds of money, and Jack is slaving over that board, and doing all that beautiful artwork. And you would think maybe he was not that type of a person, from what I understand, to quibble, I guess, about ducats. But I think it was painfully obvious to me that you should have thrown them some more ducats. Yeah. They were merchandising. They were blowing up, and those guys were basically making the same money when they went into it. And Stan says, "I still this day don't know why they left."
Yeah,
that's
I'm like, come on, a different statement on that.
And he claims, he claims that out of town. He had nothing to. He still.
When he come back, they were gone.
I think Stan understands perfectly well. At least I understand perfectly well.
Yeah.
Right.
They felt like they were being disrespected.
Yeah. I've actually watched all 3 episodes of that, so I'm current on that. So it's a pretty good show.
I mean, Jack died in '92, I think.
92 or 94.
Yeah, it was
okay.
Early '90s. Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if by then, if he did he make, even in the last years of his life, did he make some real money in terms of like hitting the cons in any way? I mean, I know they weren't anything like what they are now. I don't think so. But or his original art. I mean, any of that did he have and be able to sell? And
I'd say that. Well, I think the comic book market, with the the Dark Knight Returns and comics started resurging again. I think that's after Jack. I mean, and I think that's also when. I mean, you could buy original comic art for a fairly decent price. Now, right. I mean, like a couple $100s a page. And I understand a couple $100 is a lot of money. But it's a whole lot different ballgame to now. Those pages are like $3,000 and $5,000 and $7,000.
Yeah,
sure.
Crazy.
Well, and when Stan goes to a show, the number that's been tossed around is he'll go to do a 2 or 3 day con, and it's $250,000 is what they pay him to come in and do the signing. And I know now if you want his autograph it's in the neighborhood of $125, $150 for just a signature. What if Jack were still alive right now? I mean, he'd be, I guess, in his 90s. Can you imagine, though, being on that Stan Lee level in terms of the culture as a whole and the business, but also being able to sketch or draw? I mean, there's no way he's not a millionaire a million times over.
Well, now, on the other, I've always balked at giving that money to Stan. I mean, I guess it would be cool to have something signed by Stan. A lot of people do. Yours is very nice. It's really cool. It's something you can hang on to. And
I didn't pay that kind of money.
And you did pay that kind of money.
Right.
But Jack Kirby, I'd spend a couple $100s to meet Jack, actually meet him and have him sign something.
Sure.
Absolutely. I mean, there would be no objection because of what a great artistic talent he was. And, Stan wrote a lot of great stuff. I'm not going to deny that. But, I mean, making it come to life was their job, and they made it come to life. And I just think it would be super cool. I have something autographed by Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
I mean, it's from a guy that has a pretty sterling reputation. Doesn't have a certificate with it. And if you see Jack's signature, I mean, it matches his signature. I guess somebody could have aped it, but it would be really cool if he were alive to actually meet Jack Kirby.
Yeah,
it would be
well,
wonderful.
And anytime somebody says about the certificate of authenticity, to me, I always think of Chris Farley in Tommy Boy. I mean, when we take a dump in a box and mark it guaranteed, I'll be happy to do it. I've got spare time. Like, I don't really give a damn whether or not you have that. Like, I wasn't there, and chances are the guy issuing the certificate wasn't there either.
Right.
And so,
That's funny.
But that's kind of where that's at.
Yeah, I like your autographed FF too. That's
Yes.
pretty cool. It's once in a lifetime kind of thing.
Yeah, and Stan Lee was super cool. I couldn't have asked him to be any cooler than he was. And
Well,
a cool moment.
it just makes me wonder because Ditko is alive, and any of the Spider-Man, anything with Spider-Man, I've always seen his name at the bottom, created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. So I'm wondering, does he, garner anything from that? He probably wouldn't take it. I believe that. He probably, because he has avowed himself from all comic-related stuff, to be like, well, your name's on here, I'm talking like, I don't know, maybe he would take royalties, but I don't think he would. He's been pretty well, case in point, somebody discovered or somebody found the Amazing Fantasy 15, all the original art. And it's it's apparently at the archives now, the National Archives. You can actually see it. But the person that had it initially approached Steve and asked him if he drew all of it. Because the Amazing Fantasy 15, not only the Spider-Man story, but all the other stories, it's all Ditko, except for the cover, which is Kirby. But they went to him and asked him if he wanted. He said he had no interest in it whatsoever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did he ever get married or anything?
I don't think so.
He's just kind of a recluse.
Yeah. The guy in my office, I was reading an article. Some guy took a picture of the door. It says Steve Ditko. It's in this office building in New York. I'm not quite sure it's specific. I think he listed where it actually is, but he has a little office. It's got his name bold as can be on the door.
And you figured, I mean, the guy could write his own ticket.
And he knocked. I guess he said he had no.
Yeah,
He said
good.
just a question, just anything. He said, "I'm sorry, I just have no interest in talking about it."
Yeah.
That was into that. But yeah, had a picture of like that the other day.
But I mean, you could literally go and say, San Diego Comic-Con, we want you to come in for 4 days, and we will make sure that you are treated like royalty, and you will sign things. Here's $3 million. Like, I mean, and they would make money from that. I mean, for sure.
Yeah, obviously.
What's the number realistically? I mean, if Steve Ditko's at San Diego Con, do you not do everything you can to go out there to meet him? And they want $250 for him to sign his name.
Yes.
I mean, and how many people are going to be on that page? You know what I mean? Tons of them.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
I don't know. But some things, I guess, are more important than money to some people, not me. But because I get paid for this show. That's
Right.
why it's so ghetto.
Yeah.
Is because I take all the money ahead of time before we dump any into production value.
Right. It's a good time.
I don't know. This is a pretty good layout.
It's always good. It's always good to upgrade. Upgrade.
But anywho, those shows are neat if anybody's interested. I think they're on Monday night. The
Idiocracy.
History of Comic Books. Robert Kirkman's
That's
History
cool.
of Comic Books. I think they're pretty cool. They had a lot of so far what I've seen, they've had a lot of neat personalities and things.
Yeah.
I mean, people that around the movies and also around the art.
Yes.
Man, Jim Shooter is one ugly dude.
He does not age well. Does not age well. No, sir. Not going anywhere.
Sorry, Jim. I know you're not watching
Well,
this.
he
but
doesn't like it.
Yeah, wow. Like Jim Shooter. Woof.
Yeah.
Jeez. He looks like a Kirby monster. He really
Oh
does.
my!
Wow.
I'm
That
telling
just
you,
took a
like,
turn.
Youch.
I'm gonna give you the Kramer head shake.
Yeah, cool. I've elicited an early Kramer head shake.
The second episode of what happened? What just happened?
I don't know. It looked like we paused.
Our audio
No,
pause.
how did that happen?
I don't know. We'll have to see. We got another
Ghetto.
pause. We got another
Ghetto.
pause. in the
Hold on,
action.
another Ghetto Productions timeout. Wait a minute.
Ghetto.
I'm going to try to find a way to blame Kramer for this.
And we're back.
And we're back. We're back.
Did you miss us?
Yeah.
This is a high quality. This is high quality recording right here.
It is high quality recording. Man, this show's been a little bit off the rails.
I'm
That's
telling
because
you.
Gary's not here.
Yeah.
It's like
That's why.
the first 25 episodes. Mwah.
Yes. This one,
Chez
not so
Magnifique.
much. Not so much. But talking about that Kirkman show, the second episode, I'm not going to like detail every episode. The second episode was like the origin of Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman? Yeah, I saw a little
It-
clip for
it, it was pretty good. And like a couple guest stars in there. Lita Carter was in there. It was pretty awesome, you know. And then the third one was about Superman. So I'm sure Chip watched that one because he's all about that
Yeah.
in that life.
Speaking of Linda Carter, went to the Baltimore Comic Con this year. Did you see how much it was to go see her concert?
Yeah,
She had
see,
a
I thought
concert?
she was going to be there, but it was apparently some separate event, this concert
Yeah,
event.
she was there, but like, I guess the pre-thing to the concert, she would sign something to get a picture with her, and then she gave this little
Oh, okay.
concert. But she wasn't actually on the grounds during the show.
Yeah, I found that out once I was there. I found that.
Yeah, guess how much that was? You get like a VIP ticket to watch her concert. I don't know if I can use air quotes enough times in this sentence. And then you got a picture with her and an autograph. How much was that? $1,000.
Get
It was
out.
$1,000.
Youch.
Was she actually in the Wonder Woman costume whenever she was doing the autograph? Because I mean,
I am going down that
Still-
road of
I
what
still
that
couldn't-
would have had to entail to be
I still
$1,000.
couldn't have, come up with
Yeah,
that
you and her
beach,
riding a
right?
mechanical bull with the invisible lasso going. Woo! That might be $1,000.
Okay, I wasn't going to go down the road, but Walls did.
All right.
That might be worth $1,000.
And he did it on a tractor.
In a row?
In a row. But yeah.
All right.
Switching gears.
Just got dark.
We'll just touch
Dark.
base real quick here. I know Walls hadn't seen it yet, but he read the review, and my review was probably spoiler infested. But
It was, but that's okay.
that said,
No, you convinced me though that I should shell out some ducats and see the film.
yeah. Justice League. Anybody that's watching this, if you saw Justice League, please let us know what you thought. I mean, the internet's abuzz. It's funny because the critics on Rotten Tomatoes, I think it got a 39%, but the people that saw it, it's gotten an 85%. And usually when there's that big of a gap, I think it just speaks the idea that maybe the critics are just being a little too hoity-toity about it or whatever, and we're watching the movie to enjoy it for what it was. And as far as what it was, I thought that it was better than it had a right to be. To go from the turd Saturday sandwich that this
Small turd
but yeah, but you know what? Batman versus Superman was a big turd.
Big turd Saturday.
A big one. And it was horrible. And I won't retread that yet again. But it was terrible. And to go from there to get all the way up to this movie and to turn it around, and I felt like it was pretty organic the way they did it. It didn't feel like, oh, they just threw that movie away. They had to revert back to a lot of that stuff. They had some of the same actors, like his mom and Lois Lane and all that. They very much tied it to that because they had no choice. But I thought that they made it organically come around to being a little more lighthearted and fun.
There was just enough humor in it for me. It wasn't over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's better. It's apples and oranges, and I'm not saying it's better than Thor because it totally isn't.
Okay.
But I thought that the humor in this movie was much more fitting than the humor in the Thor movie.
Well, we've talked about that opening scene in Thor with the Salter thing. I was like,
yeah.
you know, it was until it broke into the immigrant song, then it sort of healed itself. And I'm like, well, I'm not so sure I'm getting this,
Yeah,
this
the
is a side
vibe.
joke. Yeah, I wasn't digging. I mean, I wasn't totally against it, but I was like,
Yeah. Yeah, it was like, okay, well, we're going to have a monster, we're going to have some special effects, we're going to have some action, we're going to have some humor, we're going to put it all in the first minute and a half of this movie before the credits start. And that's, hey, I was reading this article talking about the Marvel movies, about how they're only getting better. And, I mean, I think there'd be an argument for that. It's like they anytime there is a little bit of a misstep, they're finding ways to clean that up and, and keep going forward. That Thor movie was better than any of the other ones by a lot. And the other Thor movie. No, I'm sorry.
The other
Thor movies.
Oh, yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
The other two Thor movies.
Yes.
Yeah. And Spider-Man was freaking awesome.
Yes.
I loved it.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail that Justice League.
No,
I derailed the Justice League.
No, but what'd you think of Justice League?
Immediate reaction I saw with Austin, and I gave it like a strong 5 because face it, I'm a Marvel guy.
Show your allegiance to him.
Yeah, and just like you, we compare the team movies to the other team movies, and like we compared it to Avengers, and because it's a great movie. But then Austin and I did a little talking, and he's like, but just take a step back and see how far they have come with the handful of movies they have done, whereas Marvel has had since what 2007, 2006,
yeah.
The first Iron Man.
Yep.
To build upon that's like 10, 11 years.
Yep.
And DC's only got like a couple years under their belts with all this action. So, I'm still sticking with a strong 5. Because that's just how I am.
Sure.
But I know you gave it a little stronger rating than that.
When I look at it across the board against all the other superhero movies, I mean, it's like a C average, I think, in all fairness. Mm-hmm. But as far as what that movie had the ability to be, I mean, we can go back and try to change a few things, but I think that as far as it goes, that's an 8 out of 10 in terms of their 10 would not have been the greatest movie ever because they had so much baggage going into the movie.
Right.
So I guess in that context, I'm saying I thought it was about as good a movie as they could make with those characters, considering they got to carry all that other stuff into the mix. And The Flash was great.
Yeah, I was just going to say my quote. I said, Flash is the Sheldon of the DC universe. They couldn't have picked a better guy for it. I think he did a good job.
I wish.
I'm so not a Flash guy at all.
Me neither.
I don't even understand why there is a
Flash. And I'm not either. I've probably read 3 Flash comic books in my whole life, and I guarantee you 2 of them had Batman in it. Like it wasn't because he's in the book.
And Aquaman too.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what. And then Cyborg, I thought was fairly interesting. Like they had a cool twist on that.
I find Cyborg interesting because I watch Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go, and I think it's humorous. Every now and then I'll sit and watch a few episodes.
And his dad's Miles Dyson from Terminator 2. Right? Does it get any better than that?
Yeah, I called that. Yeah,
it actually can get better than that, but it's funny. Miles Dyson. But no, I thought it was cool, and I liked Aquaman was cooler than he's ever been. Yeah. I thought the Flash was funnier and cooler than I ever thought he was, and everybody was hating on Ben Affleck. Everybody was hating on the CGI of it, and I didn't see that. I thought,
hey, and there's Gal Gadot.
Yeah. Right.
And if I can throw that out there, I heard a lot of people saying, well, because is it Patty Jenkins, I think, directed the new Wonder Woman movie. They said, without her at the helm, Wonder Woman was once again objectified, and she was, like there was some like sexual innuendo and this and that. And I didn't see that at all. I didn't see a single shot that looked like they were playing that. Did you?
No, I didn't either.
I mean, and I had read that right before I went in. The other thing I would say is it's not Steppenwolf. Like they're like, oh, he's not really this great bad guy and all this. I thought he was great, and the CGI, I thought he looked at least as good as Thanos has looked in any of the stuff that they've used him for.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah.
And no, all the way around, I thought it was good. The one thing I thought was kind of cruddy was that on those channels on those sites like Rotten Tomatoes and Cinema Sins and all that stuff, they were showing when the movie dropped. They were showing Superman in the group. It's like I think we all kind of knew he was going to come back, but it was like, really, really.
Like Kramer says, nobody ever dies.
Yeah. I can still hear his voice on the wind.
Yeah. Well, I never understood that group thing anyway.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I when I'm sitting there watching, I'm like, you know what? Gary's right. Yeah. What's happening here?
Yeah. What's the point?
And I don't want to give away every single scene, but there was some really neat stuff. I like the way with the Flash. I think in the show, and then also just historically with the Flash and then with Quicksilver in the X-Men movies. The only way you can really show how fast he is by making everything slow.
Yeah.
So he's moving regular while everybody else is going slow, and that's an effect that is commonly used. And you know, there's a particular scene there I think where he realized just how fast Superman is too, and it's one of the really cool scenes.
Yeah.
I thought the mid-credit scene was.
I agree.
The mid-credit ending scene was the best part of that whole movie.
Right.
And I just thought, yeah, man, like I'm ready for another hour or two of this. So hopefully we haven't spoiled too much of that for you guys. And,
No, I think we didn't give too much away.
I would imagine most folk, though, that would tune in to watch this and loving comic books have probably already seen the movie.
Probably. You're right.
yeah. And I would just one last thing about that. I think that this movie did a heck of a good job of being a movie that if you didn't see any of the other ones, you can walk in and watch this and really enjoy it. Did you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I mean,
you
Batman
don't
vs
have to-
Superman wasn't that like the
Yeah.
flying bug creatures and stuff. When my mom was like, "What is going on? Like, what is happening here?"
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have the answer either.
Just go with it.
I've been watching this stuff for 30 years.
Yeah.
But no, I thought it was pretty good.
Well, getting back to Ben's rendition of Batman, I think it's pretty good, man. I'm not hating on him. I mean, and we've had many Batman, over the years. Batman.
Batman.
As
Batman.
the granddad off of Goldberg's calls it, the Batman.
Batman.
What a
Roger
great,
Batman. He owns the bagel shop down
Yeah,
the corner.
What a great show.
Spider-Man.
What a great Spooderman.
Spiderman. Mr. Spiderman, yeah, he's down the street. Sitting on the stoop.
Yeah, I
Don't get
thumbs
me
up.
started on Goldberg's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great show,
Yeah.
man. I love it. We can do a whole episode on Goldberg's. You watch Goldberg's? Did you ever watch it?
On occasion.
On occasion?
It's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time I've ever seen that,
I
I've
like
chuckled.
it. Yeah, it's good times. Spooderman.
His robots. So, but moving on from there, did you guys? Well, not to bring things down because we've been laughing quite a bit.
Bringing it down.
It's going to be one of those Peter Griffin. You know what really grinds my gears? Previews, and our good friends at Diamond. This week we got our shipment, and half of it
Root.
was destroyed.
Root is root.
And I'm not blaming everybody. I'm just blaming whoever packed all that stuff in the box. Because the fact of the matter was, we had these, the
Buttons.
Doomsday Clock
Some
buttons.
big buttons, yeah.
So you put some comic books in, then you dump a pile of Doomsday buttons in,
And
then
then
you
more
put more
comics.
comic books in. So our Doomsday Clock original covers were destroyed. All the Harley Quinn stuff destroyed. All the Suicide Squad stuff destroyed. That beautiful Jay Lee signed Harley Quinn book over there, I have one of. I had 3. 2 of them destroyed. And so what happens there is those are 1 in 500. There's no replacing them.
Yeah.
All there is refunding money that was spent a year ago to order the book.
And you
It
got
is
me
terrible.
that. You got me that Monsters Unleashed with the plain cover.
Yeah.
I was
yeah.
like, oh, and I was like,
And I think I'd heard not only from you but from several people and read online was that those lenticular.
lenticular, yes.
Yeah.
Those lenticular covers, when you'd move them, it was hard to get one or the other
You
cover
get
completely.
more of the throwback cover.
Mm.
Almost in every case that I've seen, and the
Mm-hmm.
ones that I have, I only have a couple of them. But you get more of you see the throwback cover, but the newer version, you don't see. Now they have provided a piece, and they put that in the front
Right.
of each one of them. But it was really cool to see that one that was just plain with that cover.
And
I
they've
really
done-
thought, oh, that's neat. I was.
And they've done that with all of them.
Yeah.
Now you can order a second print where you just get the flat cover so you
Right.
can see it. And I knew being a
yeah.
Monsters
Oh,
Unleashed
yeah.
fan, you'd want it.
Yeah.
Shows up and it's damaged. And it's one of those things where like the Doomsday Clock, the original cover, that's sold out. So again, books that you ordered months ago, now I will get.
Right.
Well, a little segue though on this week's shipment though was interesting because this has happened to me twice in my collecting is getting a book that is a misprint. I brought this in. This is there's the new Monsters Unleashed, and when I opened it up, a couple pages in, it became Luke Cage.
It's crazy.
It became Luke Cage for about I don't know, most of the book, and then it regrouped at the end to become Monsters Unleashed.
I wonder what the ratio is of that.
Yeah, well, and I got online, there isn't anything, and I'll tell you this happened to me before. When Batman 700 came out,
The Batman?
Batman 700 came out, it had 4 different segments in it, and they were all done by different artists and writers, and the ones that I picked up had one of the segments replicated, so it omitted one, and just
Did it
double
over.
printed
Yeah.
the other segment, which is because I was looking through like I've already read this. I thought I was losing my mind for something. I kept going back. I'm like, well, and I found a copy that was okay, and I'm like, oh, okay, this makes perfect sense now. But I did a lot of research and looked on there, and just a couple times have I seen Batman 700 misprint, and it makes me wonder. There can't be really. I mean, I don't know how many are out there, but you would have thought there'd be some kind of, I don't know, somebody would have spilled the beans or said, hey, there's copies out there that are misprinted.
Yeah.
So
Cards and letters. Let us know. Anybody else have these?
Here's a scathing indictment, though, of Luke Cage. By reading just a segment of that comic, did it make you rush back here and pick up a copy of Luke Cage?
I'll be honest, I didn't read the thing.
So there wasn't even enough interest to
I
give
just
it a shot.
recognized it. Looked to me like it was a
this
prison
is,
scene. He looked
yeah.
like Luke Cage. I'm not even sure it is Luke Cage, but that's what I surmised. Oh no,
Yeah,
did.
no, we pulled it
I'm
down,
sorry,
yeah.
we did pull Luke Cage. We looked at it. Yes.
Yeah, we did pull it down.
Regrouping
Yeah, we're
on the electronic action here.
Yeah, we're back on.
All right.
We're back.
That's
And
fast.
we're back.
That's fast. Good job. Kudos to you.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes.
But
Ghetto
anywho, I'm
Fabulous.
wondering. I mean, because I've seen other misprints like go for
Two covers?
pretty decent money. Yeah, the two cover thing has been. I have quite a few of
Yeah, I've
those
seen a few.
myself,
I don't have
and they're neat, but they seem to garner a lot of attention and money. I mean, especially older books.
Double covers.
There's a
yeah.
really nice double cover of an older book. They really soar up in value.
I had a Toy Biz Daredevil figure that it was a step after these though.
Have the wrong
It was a
card on it?
figure. Well, no, it was Daredevil, and he had. It looked almost like a pumpkin, like that. Like I thought it was gonna be Jack-o'-lantern or something,
Yeah.
and then the pumpkin opened, and there was like this little creature inside, type of thing.
Okay.
It was an odd toy. Anyway, the name on it wasn't Daredevil; it was Dare-Evil. They left the D out, and I ended up throwing that on eBay.
Daredevil, I like
Yeah,
it.
and the Daredevil one, the regular one, I had bought at the store for whatever, like $5 or $6, and this is probably around 2004 or 5. I put it on eBay and I sold it for like $65
Wow.
based on the
Yeah.
Daredevil.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, most cases, this is a little different though because it's the interior.
Right, sure.
But any of like the double covers are real easy. Like flip and go. Oh, that's pretty cool.
I keep meaning to ask you to mention this because you were the one that told me about it. I had a Namor book. It was like a 15 or 20 cent cover price. And you had said that it was almost like a variant when they have those jewelry
Yes.
inserts.
Yes,
If you
they
wouldn't
are.
mind maybe just running that down a little bit of what that's about.
In the 70s, Mark Jewelers, basically what they were, they had like engagement rings, pinky rings, whatever. It was a jewelry ad, 2 pages, and it was the thing about it too was like a stiffer paper. It was almost like a stock paper, like almost like something like a cardboard. Not quite cardboard, but
Heavy stock.
It
Like
was,
a card
it was
stock.
flexible. Yeah, but card stock.
Yeah, heavy stock.
And they would insert them in the comics. And the thing was, the reason why they are even being referred to as variants now are because they only put them in like 1 out of every 10 books, something like that. I think that was the ratio. So one cool thing about them was it sort of would help preserve the book. Because it was almost like having like a
little
center,
internal backboard.
center support in an
A little
internal
extra
backboard.
protection there.
But they're especially on
Protection.
Right?
especially on the hot books, like or the books with first appearances, things like that. But for the most part, I tend to see them priced significantly higher than any of the jeweler insert books because they are in fact. I mean, if you have one in there, it's they don't have anything different except for the jewelry insert, except that would be sort of like a variation, and they're not as like I said. I think it's 1 to 10 was a 1 to 10 ratio that they put them in there. So.
Well, speaking of inserts, the Marvel stamp thing, you think that's going to be a thing now, or do you think it's just going to be like a passing fancy since the...
I mean, I'd like to be positive about it, but I think it's something that probably appealed to a few people that like us that have been in it for a while. I think it was a quick attempt
Throwback.
something to just try to desperately bring people back to the fold, but I'm not cutting it out. I'm not putting it in the thing.
There's your
Right.
thing.
Yeah,
There
I'm
it
not
is.
cutting it out either.
There's your thing. Back in the day, kids, cut. In fact, you have to look at your '70s books and go, "Oh,
Last week.
is the stamp in there?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
last week.
Oh, I cut the
Hulk
stamp
181. I
out. The
mean,
stamp
that's
out.
probably the finest example of.
Yeah.
Man, you got to make sure that that's in there. Well, they sent me those.
But nobody tears those things. You know what I mean? People collect now. People
Right.
aren't going to take them out. I don't think.
Well, how about Amazing 238? With the tattoos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to find those.
But
Yeah.
did I tell you guys the tattoo story?
Tell me.
Okay, a friend of mine from high school, this guy Chris Yokas was his name. He had a copy of 238, and it did not have the tattoo in it. But that month, there was several books that had the tattoos, and the only one that had the same exact tattoo was the Punisher that came out that month.
Oh.
And you get the book for like $2. And he took and pulled the staples out, removed it, placed it in, and closed it, and there's no difference. You cannot tell. But I mean, it's just a little thing where you're not replacing it with something newer. I mean, it came out the same month.
Yes,
You know?
yeah.
So if you can pull it off, there you go.
Helpful hints. With George.
I try to be helpful. I really do.
Next week, we'll get Gary to show you the eraser method on the white cover of the comic.
Get
the Kramer,
touch base on that for sure.
the Kramer restoration.
Yeah.
But to just wrap things up about Diamond Distribution,
Oh,
you know, the guy that's my rep, he's a really nice guy, and you know, at the end of the day, it's not one particular person. I think that it's as a whole. Hopefully, they get on board with just taking a little bit more time, because to their credit, on Monday at 10 a.m., I'm getting the whole shipment resent here, and that doesn't cost me anything, other than the people that walked in here on the busiest weekend of the shopping year, and I didn't have books for them. So that kind of sucked, but they're going to ship them all out here. And like anything, Diamond's a monopoly in North America, so if you want a comic book, you have to go through them. It's like calling to gripe at the electric company. They don't care. They, you know, well, go get some candles.
Buy some candles.
yeah, we got your books. Sorry.
Yeah. And anyway, so that kind of happened, and but I'd also like to say today's Small Business Saturday, as opposed to the other name that these guys coined. But Small Business Saturday, and I posted online. Anybody that's watching, if you get a chance to stop in between noon and 5, at the end of the day, we'll say, hey, this is how many people came in. Even if you come in and spend $1, buy a comic book for $1.
Buy a pen. Buy a button.
It's not even about the money. It's just about supporting your local business. And
Yes.
Right?
if you can
Exactly.
stop here, awesome. If not, I mean, that, you know, thanks to everybody that's come in. And you guys have seen so many people come in, all, you know, all year long. People
Yes.
come in and support us. So we really appreciate it. Like
You got some nice stuff in just recently.
Yes.
That first appearance of Ant-Man, that's pretty awesome.
and the second appearance right behind it.
Right.
Yep. Some really cool stuff. I also got that.
Scott Lang.
Yeah, Scott Lang.
Should be.
Which I tell you right now is still, I think, one of the funniest things in any of the Captain America movies is whenever they're doing the fight in Civil War, and he grabs the shield. He goes, I believe this is yours, Captain America.
Yeah.
It's just classic.
Oh, that whole Ant-Man, Giant Man thing, that was really cool.
Yeah.
That whole scene, we've rattled on about that, because we just loved it from Civil War.
I was pleasantly surprised with the standalone Ant-Man film.
Oh, I've
Yeah.
been kicking myself on a regular basis. Like, I sort of ignored that.
Oh, man.
And I sit down and watch it and went, what is wrong, man? What a
Yeah.
good movie.
Yeah, it's
I think it's in the top.
Yeah,
Really do.
I agree. And you know, they say, oh, it's a big movie. Well, not that movie, but when they say, oh, there's a big movie, go see it in 3D. To me, when it's real big, I'm trying to pay attention to what's going on. I don't need the 3D.
Yeah,
but that movie I saw in 3D, and because he was so small, like flying through the air, it was like he was in the theater and stuff. I thought that more than just about anything I've seen was cool for 3D.
That's a
I saw it
shame.
that
I
way.
can't do 3D. I mean, it totally
I'm not a
messes with
fan.
me.
I'm
Really?
not a fan.
When what was I can't remember what it's called. The James Cameron movie that kind of kicked all this off. The 3D stuff with
Avatar?
Avatar.
I remember going in because I hadn't seen a 3D movie. That was the first one of the new generation.
Right.
And what was crazy was I thought, well, things are going to be coming out again. And they did, but it was how deep. It looked like you could walk into the screen. Did you see it in 3D?
I didn't see it in 3D.
Yeah, it I guess, was the pioneer of that technology, because a lot of movies now are done post to get that effect.
Mm-hmm.
That was better than anything I've seen so far, because I think that movie was made to be that way.
Right.
And it looked like you could just walk into the screen and just keep on walking like it was like an open window.
That's cool.
It was really neat.
Much better than Jaws 3D, huh?
I wouldn't go that far. I'd put it on a tie with Jaws 3D as well as Friday the 13th in 3D.
I saw
That yo-yo and the popcorn, I'm sorry.
Side note on Friday the 13th, 3D. I saw that with my dad.
Yeah.
And it's one of the only movies I can remember going to the mall with my dad to see.
That's awesome.
You know, I'm like, like 10 or 11. And Dad's
That's
sitting
a
there.
scathing indictment.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Dad. The Dad's sitting there, and we're watching it, and I glanced over at him. It's like, I don't know, like an arrow or something coming at you. And I saw my dad go, I saw his head go back. It was perfect. I can see it like right now. I see it.
That's
Good
great.
stuff. Good 3D memory.
A three-dimensional memory.
Yeah,
That's
well,
classic.
That was back in the days when you could go to the movies and, oh, Mom, come on, I want to go see Commando. Come on. And Mom's like, I don't want to see this movie. She's like, can I just go up and buy the ticket? And you could. You could go up and buy the ticket and say,
Slip in the door.
hey, this is my son. I want him to go see this movie. I want him to fry his brain.